This presentation is provided by National Seafarers Academy and is designed for mariners studying for their U.S. Merchant Mariner credential, which is also known as a U.S. Coast Guard license. This lesson will cover navigation rules and the road for the international rules, known as the COLREGS, and the U.S. rules, known as the inland rules of the road. Specifically, this lesson will cover Rules 20 through 37. Rules 20 through 31 shall be complied with in all weathers. The rules concerning light shall be complied with from sunset to sunrise, and during such times no other light shall be exhibited, except such lights which cannot be mistaken for the lights specified in these rules, or do not impair their visibility or distinctive character, or interfere with the keeping of a proper lookout. Navigation lights aboard vessels are intended to provide observers information about a vessel's function, position, and general direction of travel. The lights prescribed by these rules shall, if carried, also be exhibited from sunrise to sunset in restricted visibility and may be exhibited in all other circumstances when it is deemed necessary. Lights and day shapes provide 360 degrees of coverage. Lights shown from sunset to sunrise for all water. Lights shown daylight hours during restricted visibility. Day shapes shall be complied with by day. The rules concerning shape shall be complied with by day. The lights and shapes specified in these rules shall comply with the provisions of Annex I of these rules. For inland rules, a vessel's navigation lights and shapes may be lowered if necessary to pass under a bridge. Rule 21 applies to all vessels. It contains the definitions of lights and specifies the color and horizontal visibility of navigation lights. Masthead light means a white light placed over the fore and aft center line of the vessel, showing an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 225 degrees and so fixed as to show the light from right ahead to 22.5 degrees abaft the beam on either side of the vessel. Sidelights means a green light on the starboard side and a red light on the port side, each showing an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 112.5 degrees and so fixed as to show the light from right ahead to 22.5 degrees abaft the beam on its respective side. Sidelights means a green light on the starboard side and a red light on the port side, each showing an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 112.5 degrees and so fixed as to show the light from right ahead to 22.5 degrees abaft the beam on its respective side. Stern light means a white light placed as nearly as practicable at the stern, showing an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 135 degrees and so fixed as to show the light 67.5 degrees from right aft on each side of the vessel. Identity lights are used to show when vessels are engaged in a particular type operation, such as vessels towing, fishing vessels, vessel not under command, vessel restricted in maneuverability, diving operations, dredging operations, mine clearance operations, pilot vessel, constrained by draft, a vessel aground. Lights are shown only when engaged in duty. All-round light means a light showing an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 360 degrees. Towing light means a yellow light having the same characteristics as the stern light. This light applies in the COLREGS and inland rules. The towing light is the same for both international and inland rules of the road. The special flashing light is for the U.S. inland rules only. They are yellow in color, placed as far forward as possible, have 180 to 225 degrees of visibility, and flash at 50 to 70 flashes per minute. Rule 22 covers the visibility of lights. The chart summarizes the distance navigation light are required to be visible based on the size of the vessel. Rule 23 covers lighting for power-driven vessels. Vessels less than 50 meters will have side lights, a stern light, and a masthead light. They may carry the optional after masthead light, but are not required to carry it. Vessels greater than or equal to 50 meters will have side lights, a stern light, and both the forward and after masthead lights. Rule 23 covers air cushion and hovercraft vessels. When operating in the displacement mode, it is lighted as a power-driven vessel. When operating in the non-displacement mode, it adds an all-round yellow flashing light. Rule 23 covers power-driven vessels less than 12 meters. They may combine the side lights on the forward part of the vessel, and carry an all-around white light at the aft end of the vessel. The all-round white light can be off-centered. The Inland Rule 23 has an exception for power-driven vessels operating on the Great Lakes. Vessels operating on the Great Lakes can combine the aftermast light and stern light into one 360-degree all-around white light. The International Rule 23 has an exception for power-driven vessels that are less than 7 meters and whose top speed is less than 7 knots. These vessels need to carry only an all-around white light. In addition to lights for a power-driven vessel, submarines carry an additional identification light. Submarines may display, as a distinctive means of identification, an intermittent flashing amber or yellow beacon with a sequence of 1 flash per second for 3 seconds, followed by a 3-second off period. Rule 24 covers lights and shapes for vessels engaged in towing and pushing operations. The lights for power-driven vessels engaged in Astern towing is the same for both the international and inland rules. When the tow is less than or equal to 200 meters, the towing vessel will carry 2 masthead lights. When the tow is greater than 200 meters, the towing vessel will carry 3 masthead lights and a diamond shape during the day. The tow is measured from the stern of the towing vessel to the after end of the tow. The extra masthead lights indicating towing operations are normally carried on the forward mast, but they may be carried on the aftermast. Rule 24 covers the object or vessel being towed for both international and inland rules. The object or vessel being towed will carry side lights and a stern light. When the tow is greater than 200 meters, the object will carry a diamond shape on the forward part of the object. When the tow is greater than 200 meters, there is a diamond on the towing vessel and a second diamond on the forward part of the object being towed. When there are multiple tows astern, each tow is lighted as an individual object. When towing an inconspicuous or partially submerged object under the inland rules, an all-around white light will be placed at the forward and aft end of the object, and a diamond shape at the aft end of the object. When towing an inconspicuous or partially submerged object under the international rules, an all-around white light will be placed at the forward and aft end of the object, and a diamond shape at the aft end of the object. If the tow is greater than 200 meters, a second diamond will be placed at the forward end of the object. Rule 24 covers pushing ahead and towing alongside operations. There are lighting differences between the international and inland rules for pushing ahead and towing alongside operation. The lights for pushing ahead and towing alongside for the inland rules. A power-driven vessel, when pushing ahead or towing alongside, shall exhibit 2 masthead lights in a vertical line, side lights, and on the stern yellow 2 towing lights in a vertical line. The object being pushed ahead shall exhibit at the forward end, side lights and a yellow special flashing light. The object being towed alongside shall exhibit a stern light and at the forward end, side lights and a yellow special flashing light. Any number of vessels being towed alongside or pushed in a group shall be lighted as one vessel. A group of vessels being pushed ahead shall exhibit side lights and a yellow special flashing light at the forward end. A group of vessels being towed alongside shall exhibit side lights and a yellow special flashing light at the forward end, and a white stern light on the outboard side of each vessel in the group. The inland rules have a lighting exception for vessels being pushed ahead and towed alongside when operating on the western rivers when above the Huey Prolong Bridge. The exception eliminates the need for masthead lights. The lights for pushing ahead and towing alongside for the international rules are different than the inland rules. Specifically, there is no requirement for a yellow special flashing light on the forward end of the object. A power-driven vessel, when pushing ahead or towing alongside, shall exhibit two masthead lights in a vertical line, sidelights, and a white stern light. The object being pushed ahead shall exhibit at the forward end only sidelights. The object being towed alongside shall exhibit a stern light and at the forward end only sidelights. This is a summary of the lights required for towing operations for both the international and inland rules. Rule 24 also covers composite unit vessels. A composite unit is lighted as a power-driven vessel and not as a vessel engaged in towing operations. Rule 25 covers the lighting requirements for a sailing vessel. A sailing vessel underway shall exhibit side lights and a stern light. Note: there is no masthead light. A sailing vessel of less than 20 meters in length may combine the required lights in one lantern which is carried at or near the top of the mast, where it can best be seen. Any size sailing vessel underway may, in addition to the separate side lights and stern light, exhibit at or near the top of the mast two all-round lights in a vertical line, the upper being red and the lower green. Note: the red and green lights shall not be exhibited in conjunction with the combined lantern. When a sailboat uses its engine, it is considered a power-driven vessel, and it is lighted as such. A sailboat using its engine will have side lights, a stern light, and a masthead light. During the day, a sailboat using its engine will display a cone pointing down. Note: the cone day shape is not required for vessels less than 12 meters under the inland rules. This is a summary of sailing vessels. A sailboat using its engine is considered a power-driven vessel and carries the lights of a power-driven vessel at night. During the day, it has a black day shape of a cone apex pointing down. Sailing sailboats less than 12 meters are not required to display the day shape by inland rules. A sailing vessel of less than 7 meters in length shall, if practicable, exhibit the lights prescribed in paragraph A or B of this rule, but if she does not, she shall have ready at hand an electric torch or lighted lantern showing a white light which shall be exhibited in sufficient time to prevent collision. 2. A vessel under oars may exhibit the lights prescribed in this rule for sailing vessels, but if she does not, she shall have ready at hand an electric torch or lighted lantern showing a white light which shall be exhibited in sufficient time to prevent collision. A vessel engaged in fishing, whether underway or at anchor, shall exhibit only the lights and shapes prescribed in this rule. A vessel when engaged in trawling, by which is meant the dragging through the water of a dredge net or other apparatus used as a fishing appliance, shall exhibit two all-round lights in a vertical line, the upper being green and the lower white, or a shape consisting of two cones with their apexes together in a vertical line one above the other. A masthead light above and higher than the all-round green light. A vessel of less than 50 meters in length shall not be obliged to exhibit such a light but may do so when making way through the water, in addition to the lights prescribed in this paragraph, sidelights and a stern light. This is a vessel less than 50 meters in length which is engaged in trawling and making way. Note the sidelights and stern light. A vessel engaged in fishing, other than trawling, shall exhibit two all-round lights in a vertical line, the upper being red and the lower white, or a shape consisting of two cones with apexes together in a vertical line one above the other. When there is outlying gear extending more than 150 meters horizontally from the vessel, an all-round white light or a cone apex upwards in the direction of the gear. When making way through the water, in addition to the lights prescribed in this paragraph, Sidelights and Astern light. This is an example of vessels engaged in fishing using nets or lines. The top vessel is not making way and therefore does not display sidelights and astern light. The bottom vessel is making way. Note the sidelights and stern light. Neither vessel will display masthead light regardless of the size of the vessel. A vessel not under command shall exhibit, at night show 2 all-round red lights in a vertical line where they can best be seen. During the day show 2 balls or similar shapes in a vertical line where they can best be seen. When making way through the water, in addition to the lights prescribed in this paragraph, sidelights and astern light. A vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver, except a vessel engaged in mine clearance operations, shall exhibit, at night 3 all-round lights in a vertical line where they can best be seen. The highest and lowest of these lights shall be red and the middle light shall be white. During the day 3 shapes in a vertical line where they can best be seen. The highest and lowest of these shapes shall be balls and the middle one a diamond. When making way through the water, a masthead light or lights, sidelights and astern light. When at anchor at night, show red, white, red and the appropriate anchor lights. When at anchor during the day, show red, white, red and a black ball. A power-driven vessel engaged in astern towing operations such as severely restricts the towing vessel and her tow and their ability to deviate from their course shall show restricted in maneuverability lights and day shapes in addition to the appropriate light for a power-driven vessel. Under the inland rules, a power-driven vessel engaged in a pushing or a side towing operation such as severely restricts the towing vessel and her tow and their ability to deviate from their course shall show restricted in maneuverability lights and day shapes in addition to the appropriate light for a power-driven vessel. A vessel engaged in dredging or underwater operations, when restricted in her ability to maneuver, shall exhibit the lights and shapes prescribed in this rule and shall in addition, when an obstruction exists, exhibit 2 all-round red lights or 2 balls in a vertical line to indicate the side on which the obstruction exists. 2 all-round green lights or 2 diamonds in a vertical line to indicate the side on which another vessel may pass. When at anchor, the lights or shapes prescribed in this paragraph instead of the lights or shape prescribed in Rule 30. Note: when not making way, not side lights or stern light are shown. When making way shall show side lights and astern light. When at anchor, no anchor lights are shown. Whenever the size of a vessel engaged in diving operations makes it impracticable to exhibit all lights and shapes prescribed in this rule, the following shall be exhibited: 3 all-round lights in a vertical line where they can best be seen. The highest and lowest of these lights shall be red and the middle light shall be white. A rigid replica of the International Code flag A not less than 1 meter in height. Measures shall be taken to ensure its all-round visibility. A vessel engaged in mine clearance operations shall, in addition to the lights prescribed for a power-driven vessel or to the lights or shape prescribed for a vessel at anchor as appropriate, exhibit 3 all-round green lights or 3 balls. One of these lights or shape shall be exhibited near the foremast head and one at each end of the foreyard. These lights or shapes indicate that it is dangerous for another vessel to approach within 1,000 meters of the mine clearance vessel. A vessel constrained by her draft may, in addition to the lights prescribed for power-driven vessels, exhibit where they can best be seen 3 all-round red lights in a vertical line, or a cylinder. This applies to the international rules only. Vessel engaged on pilotage duty shall exhibit, at or near the masthead, 2 all-round lights in a vertical line, the upper being white and the lower red. When underway, in addition, side lights and astern light. When at anchor, in addition to the lights prescribed in this rule, the appropriate anchor lights or shape. A pilot vessel when not engaged on pilotage duty shall exhibit the lights or shapes prescribed for a similar vessel of her length. Note: no masthead light is shown. A vessel of less than 50 meters in length may exhibit an all-round white light where it can best be seen, and one black ball during the day. A vessel of less than 100 meters in length shall exhibit in the forepart an all-round white light or one ball, and at or near the stern and at a lower level than the forward light, an all-round white light, and one black ball during the day. A vessel at anchor may, and a vessel of 100 meters and more in length shall, also use the available working or equivalent lights to illuminate her decks. A vessel aground shall exhibit appropriate anchor lights, and in addition, where they can best be seen, 2 all-round red lights in a vertical line, 3 balls in a vertical line. Note: no deck lights are shown. Inland Rules Special Anchorage Areas. Lights. A vessel of less than 20 meters in length, when at anchor in a special anchorage area designated by the Secretary, shall not be required to exhibit the anchor lights and shapes required by this rule. Sound signals. The following vessels shall not be required to sound signals as prescribed in this rule when anchored in a special anchorage area designated by the Secretary: a vessel of less than 20 meters in length, and a barge, canal boat, scow or other nondescript craft. This is a summary of the rules and the row day shapes. The word whistle means any sound signaling appliance capable of producing the prescribed blasts and which complies with the specifications in Annex 3 to these rules. A short blast whistle signal is approximately 1 second in duration. A prolonged blast whistle signal is approximately 4 to 6 seconds in duration. Previous versions of the COLREGS referred to a long blast. The term used now is prolonged blast. Note: it is possible for 2 vessels approaching each other to be operating under different sets of rules when each vessel is on the opposite side of a COLREGS demarcation line. In this situation, both vessels should exchange sound signals appropriate to the set of rules that apply where the vessels will pass each other. This table summarizes the sound signaling requirements based on vessel length. Rule 34 covers the maneuvering and danger signals for vessels in international or inland waters when in sight of one another. The inland rule also prescribes additional signals for vessels departing a dock. Because there is a significant difference between the inland rules and the international rules in regard to maneuvering signals, they are discussed separately. Inland rules maneuvering signals are signals of intent. Light signals may be used concurrently with each of these whistle signals. In all cases, inland rules whistle signals must be sounded in crossing and meeting situations upon approaching another vessel within 1/2 mile, and the other vessel must respond to the whistle signal with either the same signal or the danger signal. An exchange of light signals is binding upon both vessels, and both vessels must then maneuver to effect a safe passage within the meaning of the exchanged signals. In inland waters, the responsibility of a vessel hearing a whistle signal indicating a proposed maneuver is to fully assess the situation and determine whether the proposed maneuver can be carried out safely. If there is any doubt that the proposed maneuver is not safe, they shall sound the danger signal. Maneuvering and warning signals for inland rules. When 2 power-driven vessels are in sight of one another and will approach within 1/2 mile of each other, they must exchange signals. In this case, the vessels will be passing port to port. They should sound one short blast to mean, "I intend to leave you on my port side." Note: signals of intent should be answered before action is taken. Maneuvering and warning signals for inland rules. When 2 power-driven vessels are in sight of one another and will approach within 1/2 mile of each other, they must exchange signals. In this case, the vessels will be passing starboard to starboard. They should sound too short blast to mean I intend to leave you on my starboard. Note: signals of intent should be answered before action is taken. Maneuvering and warning signals for inland rules. When two power-driven vessels are in sight of one another, and one will overtake another, they must exchange signals. One short blast to mean, I intend to overtake you on your starboard side. Two short blast to mean, I intend to overtake you on your port side. Note: signals of intent should be answered before action is taken. Maneuvering signal. International rules only. Under the international rules, with one exception, a whistle signal is a signal of action, to be made concurrently with any rudder or engine changes. In meeting or crossing situations, a whistle signal of one short blast means I am changing course to starboard, and a whistle signal of two short blasts means I am changing course to port. A signal of three short blasts means I am operating Astern propulsion. A signal of 5 short blasts means danger. Light signals may be used concurrently with each of these whistle signals. If a vessel, upon hearing a whistle signal, is in doubt as to the maneuver, or if a risk of collision exists, she should sound the danger signal, otherwise, no response is expected. Because the normal maneuvering signals are made concurrently with rudder or engine changes, it is entirely possible for two vessels in international waters to sound no signals. Maneuvering and warning signals for international rules. When two power-driven vessels are in sight of one another, they will sound signals if they maneuver. In this case, they sounded one short blast to mean I am altering my course to starboard. Note: response is not required on international waters. A vessel nearing a bend or an area of a channel or fairway where other vessels may be obscured by an intervening obstruction shall sound one prolonged blast. Such signal shall be answered with a prolonged blast by any approaching vessel that may be within hearing around the bend or behind the intervening obstruction. Maneuvering and warning signals for international rules. A power-driven vessel is leaving a dock or berth. She shall sound one prolonged blast. A vessel that reaches agreement with another vessel in a head-on, crossing, or overtaking situation, as for example, by using the radio telephone, is not obliged to sound the whistle signals prescribed by this rule, but may do so. When vessels in sight of one another are approaching each other and, from any cause, either vessel fails to understand the intentions or actions of the other, or is in doubt whether sufficient action is being taken by the other to avoid collision, the vessel in doubt shall immediately indicate such doubt by giving at least 5 short and rapid blasts on the whistle. Either vessel may sound, at any time. This is not a distress signal. Maneuvering sound and light signals summary. Restricted visibility sound signals summary. Sound signals and restricted visibility for vessels at anchor. Rule 36 signals to attract attention applies to all vessels in international or inland waters. If necessary to attract the attention of another vessel, any vessel may make light or sound signals that cannot be mistaken for any signal authorized elsewhere in these rules, or may direct the beam of her searchlight in the direction of the danger, in such a way as not to embarrass any vessel.
International only.
Any light to attract the attention of another vessel shall be such that it cannot be mistaken for any aid to navigation. For the purpose of this rule, the use of high-intensity intermittent or revolving lights, such as strobe lights, shall be avoided. Rule 37 covers distress and emergency signals. Law enforcement vessels may display a flashing blue light when engaged in direct law enforcement or public safety activities. This light must be located so that it does not interfere with the visibility of the vessel's navigation lights. Note: U.S. inland rules only. Vessels engaged in government-sanctioned public safety activities, and commercial vessels performing similar functions may display an alternately flashing red and yellow light signal. This identification light signal must be located so that it does not interfere with the visibility of the vessel's navigation lights. The identification light signal may be used only as an identification signal and conveys no special privilege. Vessels using the identification light signal during public safety activities must abide by the inland navigation rules, and must not presume that the light or the exigency gives them precedence or right-of-way. Note: U.S. inland rules only. Submarines may display, as a distinctive means of identification, an intermittent flashing amber-yellow beacon with a sequence of 1 flash per second for 3 seconds followed by a 3 second off period. Dredge pipelines that are floating or supported on trestles shall display the following lights at night and in periods of restricted visibility. 1 row of yellow lights. 2 red lights at each end of the pipeline, including the ends in a channel where the pipeline is separated to allow vessels to pass, whether open or closed. Thank you for watching this lesson. If you have any questions about this lesson, please email National Seafarers Academy at info@natsea.com.